They create money out of nothing. What a scam. They have so much money, they don't care about money. All they care about is power. All they care about is being able to control the political situation so it goes their way.
After a man has far more money than he possibly can spend for pleasures, what is left to excite him? For those with a ruling class mentality, the answer is power, raw power over other human beings. Money can buy such power only to a point. Beyond that, politics is the sport, and world politics is the ultimate game.
Really quickly, in 1910, Senator Aldrich on his private train brought a bunch of billionaire bankers, the Morgans, all these different people, Warburgs, down to this place called Jekyll Island off the coast of Georgia, and they figured out a way to create the Federal Reserve because central banks were looked down upon by the people, and they caused a lot of problems. By creating the Federal Reserve, they convinced the Congress and the people that the Federal Reserve is a government arm. It's not. They borrow money from private banks. We're owned by banks, and you can't alter that. John Kennedy wanted to stop borrowing, wanted to stop using the Federal Reserve, use silver certificates to determine the value of the dollar, and print money through the Treasury. So they exploded his head. The point is...
Well, that's quite a connection you make.
Yeah. Well, let's forget the Kennedy part. He did want to do that. He did want to buy the Federal... Isn't it the Federal...
I've heard a lot of reasons why he got shot. I never heard that.
Well, that's the reason. And that's the scam. It's not billions of dollars that banks control. It's trillions. You don't mess with the banks. And Senator Durbin said this place is owned by the banks on this floor of the Senate. You know better than anyone.
Now, on June 4th, 1963, President John F. Kennedy signed Executive Order 11110, which authorized the U.S. Treasury to start printing a new form of the silver certificate called the United States Note. John F. Kennedy issued $4 billion worth of this new cash money, free of debt, free of interest, and it was enough money to allow the nation to conduct its business without needing to involve the private Federal Reserve Bank. Only 5 months later, John F. Kennedy was shot by the crazed lone nut, Lee Harvey Oswald.
I didn't shoot anybody, sir. I haven't been told what I'm here for.
This is the basement floor of the Dallas City Hall, and that's where Oswald has been shot.
And as soon as Kennedy was buried, the United States notes were pulled out of circulation and destroyed, except for samples in the hands of collectors. Now, when I first proposed this linkage between the monetary system and the assassination of our world leaders, I got an email saying, well, you know, I mean, that's nonsense. I mean, you know, how do you know it wasn't Cuba or the Russians or whatever else? And I'll be the first to admit there were overlapping agendas. There were a lot of people who wanted Kennedy dead for a lot of different reasons, but if there is no link to his U.S. notes, then why was John J. McCloy, former president of the World Bank, former president of the Chase Manhattan Bank, appointed to the Warren Commission. I don't care what kind of a man McCloy was. He is not a homicide investigator, and the Warren Commission was supposed to be investigating the assassination of the President of the United States. What is a bank president doing on the Warren Commission if there is no connection to the United States notes?
See, John, JFK, our first Catholic president. John was the most charismatic of the presidents and had great support from the American people, and he felt that he could defy the international bankers and get away with it. He wasn't just killed because he was favoring some rights for black people. The president has power to just, with an executive order, make a law. I'm almost finished. Executive Order 11110, signed into law early 1963, where with the stroke of his pen, he took away the power of the Federal Reserve to print the money. And he, John Kennedy, boy, this is something. He put $4 billion into circulation in $2 and $5 denominations, but all $4 billion was backed by silver. 6 months later, like it was with Lincoln, he was shot down in Dealey Plaza. You see, the international bankers must not be defied because they run presidents and kings.